What is up, guys? EJ here, back with another video, and today it's going to be my top 10 films of 1984, continuing on with my series of videos covering my top 10 lists from the 80s. So let's get started, counting down as always. We start at number 10, and we have A Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, the first in the killer franchise by Wes Craven. Starring John Saxon as the iconic Freddy Krueger serial killer turned into this nightmarish horror who haunts the kids of the parents who had him put to death. Yeah, great film. Hella Langenkamp, great as the heroine. Johnny Depp's one of his first films. Great scene with him, of course. Really bloody ending to his character. Still probably my favorite of the nightmare films. Really sort of interesting fantasy aspect to these movies. Great horror, great comedy. Yeah, definitely one of the best horror slashers of the 80s. A Nightmare on Elm Street at number 10. Okay, up next at number 9 has to be on the list, and that is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Of course, the second in the iconic franchise helmed by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Harrison Ford, great, of course, as Indy. Not my favorite of the original three movies from the 80s, because it's pretty dark compared to the first and the third film, but still really good. So many great moments in this movie. I love the dinner scene with all the insects, the bugs, and the snakes. How gross that scene is. And then the scene where Indy and Short Round, played by Ke Huy Quan, get trapped in that room, and the ceiling's closing down on them, and the spikes coming down from the ceiling and the floor, and Kate Capshaw has to go in there and step on all those bugs, all those creepy crawlies, and free them by pulling the right lever. There's a shot of her like holding a lamp, and you can see this huge bug with like 100 legs crawling up her back, and it sort of disappears into her blonde hair. That always gave me the willies when I was a kid. Then of course you have all the great stuff within the Doom itself. Molaram, great villain. The guy who gets his heart ripped out of his chest and then lowered into the fiery pit. And then you have the rescue. Short Round sort of comes to save the day. I love the moment when they exchange hats after Harrison Ford has hit him. Sort of tells him to go away after he's come under the black sleep of Kali, and Short Round saves him, and then they exchange hats. That always sort of brings a tear to my eye at that moment. And then you have the great epic conclusion with the minecart chase and the build up to that with the fight with the big thuggy guy on the rolling thing, and then you have Short Round fighting the little prince of Pankot at the same time. That's great. The music is great at that point, and then of course the classic ending on the rope bridge. Just a great ending to this movie. But yeah, I like Raiders and the Last Crusade a little bit more than this movie, but still a great film. Okay, up next at number 8 we have a great sports movie, a great baseball movie, and that is The Natural, directed by Barry Levinson, of course starring Robert Redford as Roy Hobbs, a gifted, talented young baseball prodigy whose career and life sort of gets cut short by this very interesting moment where he gets shot by a mysterious woman in a hotel. Sort of derails his career, and then 15 years later he sort of catches on with this struggling team, the New York Knights. But they don't play him at all, and then finally when they do play him, he shows his natural ability, knocks the cover off the ball. Beautiful looking movie. The score is great. Good supporting cast. Robert Duvall, Barbara Hershey. Yeah, great baseball film starring Robert Redford, The Natural. Okay, up next at number 7 we have A Passage to India, directed by the great David Lean. Great all-star cast, Judy Davis and Peggy Ashcroft, Edward Fox, and Alec Guinness. Yeah, great film starring Peggy Ashcroft and Judy Davis, two women who travel to colonial India and sort of run into trouble, political intrigue, as they get mixed up with this after this expedition to this cave. Yeah, really good film, beautiful looking movie, great score, and David Lean, one of my favorite directors, made some great classics. Of course, Lawrence of Arabia and The Bridge on the River Kwai. Yeah, really good film. A Passage to India. Okay, up next at number 6, a film that was recently remade. A lot of 80s remakes at the moment. And that is Red Dawn, the original, directed by John Milius. Great film, of course, fantasy war movie about Russian and Cuban troops invading the U.S. And a bunch of high school kids run up and hide in the mountains. The Wolverines, they fight back. Of course, they're led by Patrick Swayze. Great young cast. Charlie Sheen is really good as the brother. C. Thomas Howell, really good. Leah Thompson and Jennifer Grey. Harry Dean Stanton, great as the old soldier who sort of drops in on them and shows them the ropes a little bit. Yeah, it's got some harsh moments. It doesn't really end very well for these kids, but it's a really, really great film. I love it. Every time it's on TV, I always watch it. And I enjoyed the remake. It wasn't as good, of course, as the original, but I thought it captured the spirit of the original. But yeah, Red Dawn, absolutely love this movie. Okay, up next at number 5. Yeah, let's go with 5. Or 4. Or 6. Yeah, 5. What am I talking about? We have Once Upon a Time in America. Great film, of course, directed by Sergio Leone. Starring Robert De Niro. Fantastic film about gangsters, the mob, 50 years in New York City. Robert De Niro and James Woods, a very young Jennifer Connelly looks stunning in this. You've got people like Elizabeth McGovern, Joe Pesci, Tuesday Weld. Who else? Burt Young. Yeah, just a really good film, beautifully shot. Classic Leone, just a great film. Doesn't really get talked about when it comes to films like Goodfellas and The Godfather and so on, but this is one of the greats as well. Great movie by Sergio Leone. Okay, up next we have number 4, and that is The Killing Fields, directed by Roland Joffe. Great film about the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia and the atrocities that they did to that nation. I believe it was back in the 60s, 70s. Sam Waterston, great as the war journalist who sort of gets caught up in it all, along with Hein S. Noor. He was actually a part of when this took place. A Cambodian actor. He won a Best Supporting Actor for his performance. Basically his own story in this film. Great supporting cast, John Malkovich, Craig T. Nelson, who else? Yeah, really good film. The Killing Fields, hard to watch at times, but a great movie at number 4. Okay, up next at number 3, the first and one of the best from these two guys, one of their best films, and that is Blood Simple, written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. Great Coen Brothers film, still one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. Frances McDormand, great as the wife of a rural Texas saloon owner. She's having an affair with this guy played by James Gertz. John Getz. Mixing up my name. John Getz. Yeah, she's married to Dan Hedaya, and Hedaya hires a local detective played by Emmett Walsh to kill both of them. Yeah, really great intrigue, murder, mystery, sort of film noir style. Just a great film by the Coen Brothers, and Frances McDormand. Been working with the Coens a long time. Blood Simple at number 3. Okay, up next at number 2, we have a great film from that year, won a lot of Oscars, and that is Amadeus. directed by Milos Forman. Great director, of course. Great movie about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, one of the greatest composers of all time, if not the best, along with Beethoven. Um, yeah, fantastic performance, Oscar-winning performance by F. Murray Abraham as Salieri. The composer is sort of jealous of Mozart, this young prodigy, played by Tom Hulce. Yeah, fantastic film, Amadeus, brilliant music, beautiful to look at, great screenplay, and just a great film, Amadeus. At number 2. Number 1 has to be on my list because it's one of my favorite sci-fi films of the 80s, sci-fi action movies of all time. And that is the original, the first Terminator, directed, of course, by James Cameron, starring Linda Hamilton, Michael Biehn, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, as the T-800 sent back from the future to kill Sarah Connor and stop her from bearing her son, who would be the savior of humanity in the future. I just love that Arnold is the bad guy in this. The way the film starts out, it just has a lot more grit and sort of darkness than T2. I love T2. It's a great film. Don't get me wrong, but I've always liked the Terminator a little bit more, just because of that sort of harder, grittier edge that this film has, and that Arnold is just a badass in this movie. I love the scene where he goes to the first Sarah Connor's house and just asks her when she opens the door, "Are you Sarah Connor?" and just blows her away with that gun, with the scope and the infrared scope on it. And then you have the great scene in the Nico, the nightclub. That's an awesome scene. The cops in this movie are great. What's the guy's name? Paul Winfield is great as the cop. I love when he's like trying to find out what's going on. He's like asking Sarah Connor questions, and he's smoking a cigarette. And then he asks, "I need a smoke. Where are my cigarettes?" And he's already holding a cigarette in his hand. Of course, you got the great stuff with when Arnie goes to the police station and just wipes them all out. The ending is great. Yeah, something about the Terminator. Michael Biehn, great as well in this. Yeah, just has a little bit more edge to it than T2 in my opinion, and it's just a classic. So that's my list, top 10 films of 1984. Let me know what you think of these, and share with me what would be on your list. Again, thanks for all the great feedback I've been getting on these particular videos, these top 10 lists of the 80s. Keep them coming. So yeah, thank you for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see ya.
Bond. James Bond.